Okay, this is going to be a boil test comparison between the Etowah II alcohol burning stove and the Jetboil Soul. As I mentioned in my video earlier, I did an AT section hike with an alcohol burning stove. Homemade one didn't work as planned, so I purchased the Etowah at the Neil Gap I don't know what it's called, Mountain Destinations or something like that. But at the Neil Gap equipment store, that's kind of your first shakedown point there. Purchased a stove. I think it's about $23, and used this on the trail the rest of the way. It worked really well, but the big thing I saw between this stove here and everybody, or between myself and everybody else, is we had this, worked great. The Jetboil Soul is what a lot of the other packers had, and it's not as light, it's just about as compact, and it works a lot faster. And that was one of my things. We had some days that were pretty long, and what we wanted to do, you just kind of get done, you just want to boil your water, make your food, get some water to drink, all that kind of stuff, and just kind of go to bed. The jet boils were super fast. We had to wait a little while, and what we're talking about is like 5 to 10 minutes longer than the jet boil. And I just wanted to kind of do a comparison of the two, just to kind of see how they work side by side. So I was just unpacked the stove. One thing it came with that I don't have anymore is their fuel bottle. It was a fuel bottle about this big. This is a little Nalgene screw top bottle. The one that came with it had a flip top to it. Wasn't quite as sturdy of a plastic. When I bought it, the guy said, "Be careful of this. It's not a very good fuel bottle. The flip top will, become disengaged, I guess." And that's exactly what happened with my pack. I was really careful with it through most of the trip. Usually stored it on the outside of my pack in one of the pockets, but one of the times it was inside, it got squeezed or something, popped open, spilled fuel all over the inside of my pack. It's denatured alcohol, so all I had to do was hang everything up and it just evaporated. There was no real damage done. It was just kind of a little pain in the butt, and I got rid of that almost immediately, and purchased this in the meantime to kind of replace that. So the other thing with this stove, I was kind of looking up demonstrations online just to see what was out there, because I hadn't really seen this stove ever before when I saw alcohol stove demonstrations. There's a couple out there showing the different feel of just pouring fuel into this, putting the pot holder on top and burning that way, and just used a lot of fuel. I'm going to end up packing more fuel than this if I'm using them that way. That's not something I really want to do, especially when backpacking. So the next step is the more efficient typical alcohol burning stove. It's got the little cotton disc in it as a wick. It kind of saves on some fuel, but even so, they were still using a lot more fuel than I remember using in it. So I wanted to kind of do this just to kind of remember how I used it, basically, how much fuel I burned when I use this, because I do want to try and use this again a couple times this year, so I want to just kind of start planning for that. The pot I use with that, it's a Snow Peak titanium. Holds a couple. I usually, if I'm boiling water, I'm going to boil maybe like 1.5, 2 cups at a time. So I've got just kind of a Nalgene here with some water in it. Got it filled up to the 1,000 milliliter mark, so we'll just kind of see what. So that was about 400 milliliters of water there. So let's do the same in the Jetboil. All right, so we've got the two systems here. One thing I always like to do, when I put the top on, make sure that it's in it's ready to pour, so I can just kind of grab it and pour from that that position. I don't have to mess around with the top at all. Not a big deal, but just something to think about when you're out there and getting your boiling water together. I don't like to mess around with stuff once it's boiling more than I have to, I guess. So then the other thing with this, if I'm remembering correctly from when I purchased this, what the guy said was basically soak the wick inside of here, maybe a little more, maybe just a little, seeing a little standing alcohol in there. So we're going to do that. And I'm just kind of curious how much this little top holds here. Okay, so about that much fuel left. That was 4 capfuls here. I'm really kind of bad at guessing these things. I'm going to guess that was 2 tablespoons. So that's actually what was recommended. On a lot of those videos, it was about 2 tablespoons of alcohol in here. We're going to put that back on, and then we're also going to just put a little bit on top here to kind of prime it. And we're going to allow that to burn off. And that's going to help vaporize the alcohol inside the stove itself and help that get a good burn going on. Let me get everything together here. Let me just change the camera angle also. We are literally going to watch water boil. Fun times. All right. So we're going to let that prime a little bit before I get everything started. We'll put our pot holder on. I'm going to see if this works. I might have needed a little more. Yep, that one out. All right. So, we're going to prime that again. And again, the point of this is the outside flame is vaporizing the alcohol on the inside of the stove. So it's going to get a better burn on it. And this looks a little bit better here. Also, why you want to test your gear before you go out and use it out on a trip. Make sure you know all the problems. This is looking like a better burn here. Cannot really see it as well as I can, I don't think. But it's starting to get the flames out of the individual holes there. Pot holder on. And let's get this going here. And we'll start our watch. Again, you can see this has a pretty good flame going here. Coming up around the pot, and what I'm hoping for is that comes back down and puts a little more directed heat on the bottom. And I think that'll happen as that alcohol burns off on the outside stove, the main stove that we poured the alcohol in to get the frying. So we already have some steam coming off the Jetboil here. That's 53 seconds in. And that was my big thing. This was so much faster. That's really what I'm more interested in than even weight. If it's not too much heavier, I'm looking for as fast as possible. I want to get my water boiled. I dehydrate all my own food usually on my trips. So I want to boil the water, put it in to soak, and let it sit for a while it hydrates. I can do my other camp chores and everything. And I want that to happen as fast as possible. In the morning, I want my coffee as fast as I physically can. Got a lot of steam coming out here, and we're boiling in 1:38 on the Jetboil. So, Jetboil, 1:38, 400 milliliters of water. That's what we were dealing with. This is still going here. We've got some good heat here, but it typically, I think it took roughly 4 minutes maybe to boil in some of those situations that we were in. I'm on my porch right now with the windows open, so we do have some ventilation going, but it's obviously ideal. In windy conditions, you're losing a little more heat. You do have a wind screen, but it gets a little more challenging to get that stuff boiling quickly. Now, we're at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And as much as I don't want to open this, I just kind of want to see the process that's going on under there. To see some gloves that I got with my Dutch oven. So we've got some steam. We don't have any bubbles yet. But it is hot water. If this was treated water, which I don't typically boil, if it's treated water, then it would be good to go. I'd probably just pour my food in at the 3 minute mark and let it soak for a while. Put it in the cozy, which is right here. Kind of went through that. Put it in the cozy, let it sit, and let all that food rehydrate as I probably boiled some more water or as I maybe made some beverages from some previously treated water or something to that effect, maybe going down and got some water. But we burned off all the excess alcohol now, and now it's just that inside stove with the wick inside of it. We're at 3 minutes 43 seconds. And the other thing about the Jetboil is you can obviously see through that cap a little bit, see the steam coming out. You can see the water vapor forming on the top of it, so you kind of know when that boil is coming along. You don't feel that need to check all the time, which you absolutely don't want to do. But with this stove, again, that was one meal. So I don't know, what do we have? 3, maybe 4 uses here, which if you have some resupply points, that's not a bad deal. You could carry a larger amount of fuel, obviously, but then you're just carrying around some more weight as well, and you're getting back you're losing some of the advantage that this has over the Jetboil because they are similar sized. And like I said, I'm not counting ounces or anything, but I do want it to be as light as possible. So we've got some bubbles going on here, and we're at the 5 minute mark. Obviously, I'm skewing these results a little bit since I'm opening this up every once in a while, but the point is the Jetboil Sole is much faster. For a solo backpacker, it's great. that's why I kind of use this one almost exclusively now. The thing with this one is just really light, and it's fun to do. Fun to just kind of bring yourself out on a trip, bring some equipment, make yourself kind of deal with it, and kind of take away some of the stuff you're used to, make you kind of use some different equipment, and see how that affects what you have set up. Like my food systems, this works great because I can boil water really fast. If I need to simmer it, it works pretty well. It doesn't waste a lot of fuel. I get about a trip's worth of burns on this for just me. If I'm going on a week-long trip or more, it's going to be in the ballpark of maybe one. Depends how much coffee I drink, really. I might do hot oatmeal. Sometimes I just do cold oatmeal in the morning. I like my coffee. I usually have 2 or 3 cups, so that obviously wastes a little more gas. In the meantime, the dinners, like I said, they're just kind of a one-pot meal, dump and soak for the most part. So all I'm doing is boiling water. So it varies on the trip how many times I use that. If I break out something, have a hot drink or something on a lunch break, or if we're canoeing, setting up a little camp, just taking a little break, waiting out a rain squall, thunderstorm, something like that, you're boiling it. It does kind of vary a little bit, but this one of these with actually that was with a big stove accident that came along with it. We actually went through one of these, but we burned through most of the fuel in it with that accident, and actually we made it 5 days on less than a quarter of one of these. 6 days even, I think it was. We were really low, and we didn't have as much coffee as I would have liked. So we got some steam coming off this now, and we got a boil going on. 7 minutes 43 seconds, and like I said, it works pretty well, but that sometimes when you're tired is a lot of time. So anyway, then what we would do is we would set this in the cozy, cover that up, and that'll keep your water hot for a while. You pour your food into here, about an inch over the top of your dehydrated food. Cover this up, it rehydrates it in about 15 minutes. So about 20 minutes to a half an hour process here. This is still burning. Pick this up and away. Whoa. And as you can see, I hope, alcohol flames are a little harder to see on camera, but we've still got a decent amount of burn there. So I'm just going to blow that out and see how much fuel is left in the bottom. Now I saw guys filling for the prime, filling this thing up a quarter of the way, which totally unneeded. I think he was using 3/4 of one of these bottles for one burn, and that is way too much. Let me take this down too, and this has that insulation on it as well. It doesn't work as well as this does, obviously, but it is on there, and that holds some warm water for a while too. Now if I'm canoeing, again, a lot of times I'm canoeing, I'm much less concerned about weight and more about comfort and convenience, I guess. So if I'm on a canoe trip, I have a thermos with me a lot. I'd pour that off into the thermos, maybe boil some more, fill up all my water bottles with either treated or filtered water, boiled water for coffee, kind of have some of that on hand, and just kind of keep stocking everything so I don't have to do it later on. These things tend to stay hot a lot longer than the rest of the stove does, so you do want to be careful with this. My actual campfire gloves wore out last season, so that's why I'm using these. And these cool off a lot faster. When this is hot, this thing's basically fused together. The expanded metal tends to lock it into place. I don't hear any extra fuel around here, but it's cooled off quite a bit at this point. It's still warm. This is totally cool, completely cool. I can grab that. This one I can grab, but it is still warm. But this is still, I can still twist this now. And it's damp, so there's still alcohol in there. I didn't need as much as I had. What I had, there's a little standing pool in the middle here, and the cotton was, looks like mostly wet. You can see that little tar on the side. I think I didn't quite get it all the way up there. Maybe if I stuff this down a little more. It looks like that started to maybe catch fire a little bit, little burn there. Otherwise, what's happening is this wick is just burning. It's just burning the alcohol off, and it's just kind of holding that alcohol. It's a holding place for that alcohol until it burns all the way down. And when it runs out, it just goes out. It doesn't catch fire. This looked like it maybe didn't quite get soaked enough, but there's a little standing pool in there, and that was about 4 of these caps full of alcohol. And then we had to prime it twice to get it to light. So, like I said, I like this stove. It does work pretty well. It just takes a little bit more time. So if you're by yourself, you're not knocking out tons of miles on a backpack trip. You're not super tired at the end of the day, and you have time to kill. This is a pretty good stove. It's lightweight, so you can, you start to knock that weight down on your pack a little bit. You're not carrying quite as much around with you. You're going to be able to go a little bit longer with a lighter pack. Obviously, we're not talking about a huge weight difference between the two, but as you know, it all adds up. So that's just the difference. Minute 38 to 7:42, and that was right here. That I haven't used this for probably 3 years, so, and I use this all the time, so I kind of know what to expect here. This one, and that was on a high burn with this one as well, which is a little less efficient than the slower simmer on a Jetboil, the more fuel conservative setting. So 2 different stoves. They both work well. They're both about the same size in your pack. I like this one just because it's a little bit faster, but this does have a little bit of weight savings to it. So hope you liked it.